Good evening, everyone, et bienvenue à notre séance conseil pour le mois d'août 2025. Thank you for being here, the folks that have joined us in the room, and also those that watch us via the webcast. Bonsoir à tous, les gens qui sont ici avec nous ce soir, mais aussi les gens qui nous regardent par le web diffusion. On commence avec les cérémonies, avec la rubrique, ma rubrique aussi pour le mois d'août. Mais ce soir, je donne la parole à M. Tarakjan avec une annonce qu'il aimerait faire. Merci.
Merci, M. le maire.
C'est pas le mic qui n'est pas là.
Press the button.
Which button? Oui. Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening. C'est avec beaucoup de tristesse que nous confirmons le décès de Caitlin Katie Harding, une joueuse de ringuette de 20 ans de Lynx de Pierrefonds-Roxboro. Katie est décédée en toute sérénité le mercredi 23 juillet 2025 après une courageuse bataille de 2 ans contre l'osteosarcome. Au cours de ses courtes vies, son sourire radieux, son esprit généreux et son amour de la ringuette ont inspiré tous ceux qui l'ont connue. À un si jeune âge, Pierrefonds-Roxboro manquera profondément cette jeune athlète vibrant qui demeurerait toujours une lynx et restera dans nos cœurs. With heavy hearts, we confirm the passing of Caitlin Katie Harding, a 20-year-old ringette player with the Pierrefonds-Roxboro Lynx. Katie died peacefully on Wednesday, July 2025, after a brave 2-year battle with osteosarcoma. In her short life, her radiant smile, generous spirit, and unwavering love for ringette inspired everyone who knew her. At such a tender age, Pierrefonds-Roxboro will deeply miss this vibrant young athlete who will forever be a Lynx and remain in our hearts forever. Si vous permettez, on peut avoir un moment de silence, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur le maire.
Effectivement, M. Tarakjan, merci. Merci. Un autre moment pour nous faire penser comment la vie est précieuse. Avant que je commence avec ma rubrique pour ce mois-ci, on a un invité spécial dans la salle. Ce soir, nous allons tenir une cérémonie de signature du livre d'or en l'honneur de Mme Zarouhi Kashian, une citoyenne qui s'engage pleinement auprès des aînés et des équipes de baseball locales depuis maintenant 27 ans. Elle est notamment gérante des équipes depuis plusieurs années. Mme Kashian est directrice des communications du CA du Carrefour des aînés de Pierrefonds depuis 2018. Elle est aussi membre du conseil d'administration du club de baseball de Pierrefonds depuis l'an 2000, à titre de vice-présidente. L'administration, elle joue plusieurs rôles, dont ceux d'assigner des marqueurs, de planifier des cliniques intérieures, les camps d'été ainsi que le Rally Cap. Le club a nommé un prix en son honneur, soit le prix Zarouhi Kashian, du bénévole de l'année, qui sera remis pour la première fois en 2025. Nous allons donc saisir l'occasion d'honorer à notre tour au cours de la soirée. So as we've done on occasion from time to time, we've honored some exceptional citizens in our community that have given more than their time, sacrificed their time, but also their families that have had them away from home. And tonight we are honoring with the signature of our Golden Book, Madame Zarouhi Kashian, who is a citizen that has been engaged not only in terms of the Seniors Club in Pierrefonds, but also Pierrefonds baseball for now 27 years. So again, it's a very simple ceremony. She's joined, I see, in the room by her husband, Robert, and I see Jane Powell as well that's in the room with us. And for those of you that don't know, I say it all the time, Jane, and I apologize for saying it, but Jane was the first woman who held the seat at the mayorship of Montreal. It was for a brief period, I remember back then, but she was the first lady that occupied that position in Montreal, and she is here with us as well in the room, and I am so appreciative and thankful that you're all there with us. So Zarouhi, this evening starts off with you. I know you at many levels, particularly because my kids played and continue to play baseball. I know Monsieur Langevin also has his child in baseball as well. And we see the true implication and involvement of not only you, but of everybody around you, particularly in Pierrefonds baseball, and in the Seniors Club, which is thriving and is running out of space with a number of seniors that use the amazing services that you all offer. So on that, we congratulate you. So I'll have you come up and sign the Golden Book. We'll give you a little token certificate for the commemoration of this evening. We'll take a few pictures, and then we'll start our council meeting, okay? Good. Come on, front. Robert, Jane, you want to come up with us as well? Jane, come in.
Zarouhi, tell Marion I love her.
I'll tell him.
All right. J'aimerais revenir sur notre célébration de la Fête du Canada qui a lieu le mois dernier. Quel événement extraordinaire! Plus de 20 000 personnes se sont rassemblées sur le site de l'école PCHS pour assister au spectacle gratuit de Simple Plan. C'est sans compter que les citoyens se sont aussi présentés en grand nombre au traditionnel défilé, ainsi qu'à la foire de manège. C'était la célébration de la Fête du Canada le plus achalandée à ce jour, et je suis très fier de nos équipes qui ont mis tout le temps et l'énergie nécessaire à la réalisation de ce projet. Le résultat a plusieurs fois dépassé nos attentes. Je tiens à remercier nos équipes nos partenaires et collaborations pour le succès de cette grande fête et je suis très reconnaissant de votre travail. So if we take a brief glance at our Canada Day celebrations, first of all, it was a never-before-seen event in our community, let alone on the West Island. We commemorated the event by celebrating 25 years of young men who began their career in our community, who some of their parents still live in our community, and now have become a worldwide musical group. We were able to honor them here at PCHS. They graciously agreed to come with a smaller setup in between their touring schedule, understanding the impact that our community had on their careers. We were extremely grateful as well to have Collège Beaubois, the school that most of them attended, be a part of the event, and we're thankful to them. And lastly, I want to thank our incredible teams who were able to put on a world-class event that responded to many folks, young and old, in our community and made it a one-of-a-kind signature event in Pierrefonds-Roxboro. Madame Leroux, vous avez un commentaire pour nous ce soir.
Oui, merci. Merci beaucoup. On m'entend? Oui. Okay. Écoutez, je ne veux pas être prophète de malheur, mais l'été va tirer à sa fin dans quelques semaines et on va arriver au retour en classe. Et retour en classe signifie qu'il va y avoir des jeunes qui vont aller sur les trottoirs, dans les rues, tout ça, pour se rendre à l'école. Donc, s'il vous plaît, portez une attention particulière à cette population vulnérable. C'est des piétons. Des fois, ils sont en vélo. On vous demande de porter une attention là, vraiment particulière et de faire attention à ces jeunes. Vous allez voir qu'on va installer aussi des radars de vitesse. Il va y avoir aussi des vidéos qui vont être mises en ligne. Donc, je souhaite à tous ces jeunes, aux parents, aux enseignants, au personnel des écoles, un bon retour en classe dans quelques semaines. D'ici là, bien, profitez de votre été. Il reste encore quand même 2 semaines, peut-être 3. Donc, soyez juste prudents, puis on vous veut en santé pour toute l'année scolaire. So, have a good back to school. Be safe and secure, and, just take care of those little kids. Sometimes they are not very old, and they are going by bicycle or they are walking, so please be careful. They will soon be all over the place, so we're taking good care of them, so have a good back to school to everyone.
Merci, Madame Leroux. Et pour ajouter à ça, comme je dis à presque chaque séance conseil, un gros problème que nous avons, un enjeu que nous avons autour des écoles, c'est le comportement des conducteurs, surtout les parents de ces élèves dans ces écoles. Nous, de notre part, on a quand même baissé la vitesse à 30 km, comme autour des parcs et d'autres endroits vulnérables. On a aussi ajouté des bollards statiques. On a ajouté des dos down dans plusieurs cas. On a collaboré avec les écoles pour définir le stationnement permis autour des écoles. Et même à ça, on a une situation qui date depuis longtemps avec le non-respect de ces règles qu'on met en place. So, again, just to add to Madame Leroux, we say this at every meeting. Primarily, the issues around schools stem around the parents' attitude when they bring their children to the schools, not respecting in most part, not respecting the speed limits, not respecting the parking regulations, not respecting the kiss and ride zones. We've gone to great lengths with the traffic committee in collaboration with the different schools, all the schools for that matter, to identify traffic curbing measures, whether they be freestanding markers, whether they be addition of speed bumps, reducing of speed, changing the parking regulations, allowing for folks to, even going as far as identifying particular streets and making them one-way to alleviate some of the stress in these areas. So if I can just reiterate the situation, as we start thinking of back to school with the children, please, folks, and those that are watching us via the webcast, pay special attention to the most vulnerable in our community. We have a role to play here. We do what we can at the city to secure these zones, and we ask for everyone's collaboration. J'en profite pour vous inviter à découvrir quelques-uns des spectacles qui vont animer notre arrondissement dans les prochaines semaines, que ce soit sur la terrasse de la bibliothèque, dans nos parcs ou sous un chapiteau. Il y en aura pour tous les goûts. Il y a du jazz en plein air avec le talentueux Carlos Jiménez dans le cadre des soirées jazz. Un cirque poétique avec le trio Locomotion et aussi une expérience théâtrale unique avec Tea Time de la compagnie Causso. Tous les rendez-vous sont gratuits, accessibles et parfaits pour profiter pleinement de l'été. Pour vous soyez en famille ou entre amis, ne manquez pas ça. Encore, again, with the Cultural Summer Festival, we have many activities. I'm not going to repeat them, but there are many activities planned throughout the community. Folks sometimes ask us, what does the city do, to allow for us to participate in these types of events? Well, what we do is at every season, we have over 100 different activities, most, if not all, free of charge. And here's another example of more activities that take place through the summer with the help of Mr. Duliep and his team. Once again, have provided already incredible presentations and continue to do that through the month of August. So again, my message is essentially, folks, is to have everyone try to at least come out to a few if you can, and you see what the benefit is and what type of community building we can put around that. So, merci encore, M. Duliep, de transmettre les remerciements aux équipes. Je tiens à souligner maintenant la tenue d'une exposition exceptionnelle à la Bibliothèque de Pierrefonds. Elle s'intitule « Comment agir avec les personnes en situation d'itinérance ». C'est un thème important qui permet de sensibiliser le public à cette problématique qui existe même ici à Pierrefonds-Roxboro. C'est présenté comme une série de bandes dessinées amusantes et ça permet de mieux comprendre les réalités vécues par les personnes en situation d'itinérance. L'artiste nous propose à travers ses œuvres des façons respectueuses d'agir avec ces personnes. Et vous avez jusqu'au 17 août pour aller voir l'exposition. Je vous la recommande fortement. In our library, we have an exposition on homelessness. And what it is, it's an eye-opening experience that you will see for yourselves by going to the library in the main floor. There are panels put up with all types of works that give you a sense of understanding on the vulnerability of this segment of the population that we think oftentimes is situated in center core cities. But in fact, it also exists on the West Island in Pierrefonds-Roxboro and our neighboring cities as well. As much as we don't want to admit it, as much as we may even be in denial sometimes, many folks are a moment away from reaching the homelessness segment of the population. Puis je peux vous dire que M. Langevin travaille très fort dans ce dossier, pas juste à l'arrondissement, mais pour Montréal, pour faire comprendre qu'on a un problème et il faut absolument donner des services à une population vulnérable comme les gens qui sont dans les situations d'itinérance. Et je vous encourage fortement, mesdames et messieurs, d'aller visiter la bibliothèque. Vous pouvez poser des questions aussi à nos employés. On a des organismes aussi qui ont participé à cet événement et je vous encourage de au moins connaître un peu plus qu'est-ce qu'ils font sur le territoire. Une fois de plus cette année, nous allons présenter notre très populaire événement Hommage aux aînés. La célébration se fera sur le thème des années 80. That was a good decade, by the way. Une décennie remplie des couleurs vives de coupes de chevaux audacieuse, I can tell you that too, et de vêtements extravagants. On vous offre de la musique live, de la danse, des gâteaux et le tirage de plusieurs prix de présence. On vous donne rendez-vous le 27 août. C'est la fin du mois, mesdames et messieurs, prochain, de 13h à 16h au Centre communautaire Marcel Morin. Et pour vous inscrire, il faut téléphoner au numéro 438-990-5162. Et encore, tous les détails se trouvent aussi sur notre site web. We honor our seniors every year. We don't do it only once a year. We do it throughout the year through the many gestures we pose in our community. But this is a much anticipated event that we hold every year around the end of summer, where we honor our seniors. We have cake, we have live music, there's dancing. This year's themes, and I had nothing to do with it, is the 80s. And for those of us that grew up primarily in the 80s, remember them well. And they'll be full of probably beautiful, colorful costumes, as all of council, I'm anticipating, come fully in the era of the 80s. It will be on the 27th of August, folks, and it's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Marcel Morin Center, which is just around the corner. And if you haven't registered already, please do so by calling 438-990-5162, or you can go on our website and you can find all the information. It would be a pleasure to see you all there. Pour terminer, n'oubliez pas le très populaire Ribfest de Montréal, qui est organisé au profit de grands frères, grands sœurs de l'ouest de l'île, entre autres, parce qu'on a d'autres bénéficiaires aussi. L'événement est géré par Strangers in the Night et nous avons encore une fois la chance de tenir cet événement cet été à Pierrefonds-Roxboro. Je vous invite à vous joindre à nous le 15, 16 et 17 août de 11h à 21h sur le terrain de l'école secondaire Pierrefonds. Et vous aurez droit à la musique live, des côtés levés et différents camions de rue. Et encore pour plus d'informations, je vous encourage d'aller sur la page Facebook de Ribfest Montréal. The Ribfest, the annual Ribfest, is being held once again at PCHS, folks. It's an event that draws in thousands of people from our community and other communities as well, as it is a main fundraiser for Big Brothers Big Sisters, managed by the Strangers in the Night family, that also raise much-needed funds for other organizations. There will be ribbers there from across Canada. There will be other food trucks as well. And for those that have been there, know what I'm talking about. And for those that have never come, it is your opportunity to attend for the first time and see what all the buzz has been about all these years. It's the 15th, 16th, and 17th. And I might add as well that there are also some vegetarian options as well for folks that don't eat meat. They've made an effort to be able to provide that as well, because there have been folks, of course, that just don't, and they will come regardless. And it is from the 15th, 16th to 17th, as I said, in August, from 11 to 9 at PCHS. And all the information can be found, the band schedule on stage, on the Ribfest Montreal Facebook link. So I urge you to go there to find out some more information. Sur ce, je vous souhaite une excellente soirée. Merci encore à ceux et celles dans la salle et les gens qui nous regardent via le web diffusion. Monsieur Gauthier, on peut procéder avec la période de questions.
Monsieur le maire. Merci, Monsieur le maire. Alors, mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de vous rappeler que certaines règles s'appliquent lorsque vous intervenez devant les membres du Conseil. Tout intervenant doit s'inscrire avant la séance du Conseil de façon à avoir le droit de poser des questions limitées à 2. Tout intervenant sera appelé selon l'ordre de son inscription. Votre question doit se limiter uniquement au sujet qu'elle touche. Elle doit être claire, précise et sans préambule. Vous devez être poli et respectueux envers les membres du Conseil. Si vous ne respectez pas ces règles, vous serez invité à vous retirer et à quitter la salle du Conseil. Pour poser votre question, prière de vous avancer au micro et vous adresser uniquement au maire qui préside la séance du Conseil. Le maire peut limiter à 2 interventions le nombre de questions portant sur un même objet. Pour votre information, la période de questions initiale est de 30 minutes avec une possibilité de prolongation pour 15 minutes. Après ce délai, la période de questions est suspendue et sur motion d'un conseiller, une prolongation supplémentaire de 30 minutes pourra être faite après la disposition de l'ordre du jour. Sachez que la prise de photos, de vidéos et d'enregistrement est interdite sans l'autorisation du maire. Nous vous demandons de bien vouloir fermer tous vos appareils intelligents. Nous vous rappelons également que la séance du Conseil est rediffusée en simultané sur notre site Web. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to remind you that certain rules apply when you address members of the Borough Council. All speakers must register prior to the council sitting in order to have the right to ask a question limited to 2. Speakers will be called upon in the order in which they register. Your question must be limited to the subject at hand, clear, precise, and without preamble. You must be polite and respectful to council members. If you fail to comply with these rules, you will be asked to withdraw and leave the council room. To ask your question, please step up to the microphone and address only the mayor who is chairing the council sitting. The mayor may limit the number of questions on the same subject to 2. For your information, the initial question period is 30 minutes with the possibility of a 15-minute extension. After this time, question period is suspended, and on a considered motion, an additional 30 minutes extension may be granted after the agenda has been disposed of. Please note that it's forbidden to take photos, videos, or recording without the mayor's permission. We kindly ask you to turn off all your smart devices. We will also like to remind you that the council sitting will be broadcasted simultaneously on our website. So we now invite Mrs. Pauline Caron.
Oui, bonsoir. J'espère que vous allez accepter si je vous parle en anglais.
En anglais, en français, comme vous voulez, madame.
Ou en grec.
En grec, arménien, italien, comme vous voulez.
Est-ce que vous avez demandé la question?
Allez, madame, vous pouvez poser la question.
Oh my God.
You can
Okay.
take your time.
Pardonnez-moi, c'est nouveau pour moi. Je ne réalisais pas ce qu'il fallait faire. Je demeure à 4500 Arrondissement. Ça fait 21 ans que je demeure là. Et puis notre édifice manque beaucoup de respect et d'amélioration depuis 21 ans que je suis là, excepté pour une année à 2019. La ville et une des conseillères de OMHM, elle a pris action et elle a réglé un peu l'apparence de 4500 Arrondissement. Mais l'édifice a été bâti en 1947 et puis est après tombé. J'ai envoyé des photos. Ce serait très important que quelqu'un vienne y voir. Et puis, on aimerait beaucoup que quelque chose soit fait. Sérieusement, là, il y en a vraiment besoin.
Madame Caron, merci beaucoup de prendre le moment pour venir ici ce soir poser la question ou vous nous faire part de la situation chez vous. Est-ce que vous voulez que je réponde en français, en anglais, comme vous voulez?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I just spoke French.
I didn't either, actually, so we're on the same page. I saw Madame Talbot shared some of your concerns that you had via the note that you gave her, the extensive document that you gave her. I have to be perfectly honest with you that a lot of the information that you gave us, which is valid, it concerns the building and the management of the building itself, and not, in many cases, the city. What I will do, because there's a lot of information there and a lot of details, what I'd like to do is Madame Lagarde will be in contact with you. We have your phone number here. And I will come, let's say sometime next week, and we'll see you on site. I'll see if I can bring somebody from our services as well, and we'll go and do a walkabout. And you'll show me, I'd like to visualize it, and then and only then will I be able to guide you and tell you, well, this is the responsibility of this organization or the building or the régie de logement or the city. But we can only do that in a real constructive way by identifying each of the points that you have on your document, visualize them, and then analyze who will be responsible to try to find some resolve for you, okay? That would be the best approach. Like I said, briefly glancing through the document, there are a lot of things in there that unfortunately are more to do with the ownership of the building. And from what I gather, I don't want to say disrespect, but maybe the neglect of some of the issues that you brought up, which are quite valid as far as I'm concerned. And I remember in 2009 when I did visit the facility, and I was there, I remember with the director that was in place at the time, and we looked at some planting opportunities. I remember specifically because I was there. And greening and somehow having our horticulture expert get involved in helping you all figure out what you can do to beautify your lot. And I remember because I was there. So that's what we're going to do. We'll contact you this week. We'll try to find a moment at some point next week, and we'll make sure that we come and see you, and we can go through that together. How's that?
Fine, perfect,
Good.
perfect. Now, my other question
Go ahead,
is the same address, 4500 René Mar, which is Manoir Roger Bernard. We are the dumper. We have two buildings, okay? So 4500 René Mar gets all the garbage thrown on our side, and it's becoming disrespectful. I know it's probably the way it's been done for years, but something has to be done.
So we're talking about Roger Bernard. We're talking about the brown building behind you. And we're talking about the other sort of smaller density buildings that are just before the entrance of where the Metro or the Provigo is, right?
I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
Well,
We are the white building?
Yes, I know that.
Both is white?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So-
there's also the red building that's sort of in the
Oh,
background.
yes, that's another, yeah.
That's right.
That's not.
So, like I said, when
Is that-
we,
I'm sorry.
Go
is
ahead.
Is that by OMHM too?
no,
Okay.
no, but sometimes I've heard issues with them sort of encroaching on the other property as well. And that's why I say, when we go and visit that, we'll make sure that we identify some of these things. Look, cleanliness, and we have bylaws for that as well, that we can apply. We have inspectors that can be dispatched and make sure that they at least respect what they're supposed to do. And if that's not being done, or if that hasn't been done, this is the first I hear of it. So because it's the first I hear of it, my first intention is to come and see you, and we can do a walkabout. And if you can get somehow the direction of the building to meet with us as well that day, that might be beneficial as well, and we go over it together.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what you mean by direction.
By whoever runs the facility, the building.
It's provincial government.
Well, this is what I'm saying, but they have somebody within that building that has
You mean
been assigned.
Like the director?
That's right.
Oh, got it.
Somebody that has been assigned that building, like every OHM has. And so if you know that person, certainly we can invite them as well to be present, and we can look at all that together. This way we don't have to keep repeating ourselves to everybody.
That's fine, good.
Okay.
So meaning the director is fine?
Yeah.
You will advise me the date before I contact him?
Madame Lagarde will contact you.
Oh, okay.
You'll decide some of the dates together. She knows my agenda. And then once that's defined, then we leave it to you to coordinate with the powers that be.
Okay.
Okay?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, Madame Caron. Thank you for coming.
Merci.
Merci.
Mrs. Martabon.
Question 1, item 4012 on page 9 of tonight's agenda. Authorizing an 11-bedroom community building on lot 6615679 as part of Rapid Housing Infrastructure Program, CMHC, using specific construction bylaw, SQAPI. Please explain the location, the project, the justification, and how it relates to the project discussed at a special council meeting this past Monday.
Is that your first question, Mrs. Bond?
As the, in that agenda at the special council meeting, there was a discussion of a modification or a reduction of Anderson Park, and this is a lot, I guess, along Gouin, west of Belleville. And I received information that there were two buildings, whereas in the the resolution description, there's only one building mentioned. So I'm confused.
So is that your first question,
Yeah.
Mrs. Bond? Thank you. Monsieur Langevin?
The first question I want to ask you, Mrs. Bond, is what's the question?
I said explain the location, the project.
So you want to know the location?
Yeah, because it's vague.
When it
There's only
comes
a
to
lot
lo-
enough, the
Yes.
justification.
Okay, so for your first question, when it comes to certain types of services that is offered, this is an out-of-market project, meaning it will serve a segment of the population that is vulnerable and requires discretion. Discretion, what we can say at this point vaguely is it's around Fox and Gouin. So what's your second question?
Well, I asked for justification for the location. Why this location? Gouin is a heritage boulevard, single-family zoning in that area. So you didn't mention your justification for this project.
So that's your second question?
No, that's part of it.
Okay, so the justification is that we are in a housing crisis at this point, and we need to answer to the needs that are being expressed by the population.
What's your second question,
Of
Mrs.
that
Bond?
population, not the rest of the population.
The
What-
population in general.
What's your second question, Mrs. Bond?
Item 4013, also on page 9. Lights, kind of bright. Okay. At least it's not dark. As to the extension of 6 months in order to adopt a concordance bylaw to the urban mobility plan, explain in simple terms with examples why the borough is asking for an extension and what these provisions will change.
Okay, it's pretty technical, so I wrote an explanation. So the law imposes a certain delay to adopt concordance bylaws after modifying the Montreal Urban Plan. The borough has to assure that their bylaw are in conformity with the planning documents to prevent conformity issues. The borough has to make other studies, so this is just a second step, because we need to make more studies if it fits the specifics of its territory, such as zoning adjustment, PIA, lotissement, will have to be done in the future. All these analysis with usage, if it's of patrimonial interest, the density, are the density in respect of the Montreal Urban Plan, and also, and to explain is that the delays are too short for the group's funding. So all these, in any circumstances, this is the second step of many other steps that will occur in the future, and also public presentation where you will be able to address many of your concerns within the next year of 2026.
Thank you, Mrs. Bond. Monsieur Gauthier?
You said something about the group project application?
Madame Bond, I think we
Okay, well-
answered more than two questions.
Yeah,
We go to the
wasn't
next person.
complete
Monsieur Gauthier,
answer.
s'il vous plaît.
Can I send you an email to get some more information?
Yes, please.
I
Please, thank
guess
you.
Could have just answered it a little more.
Thank you so much.
Monsieur Michael Labille.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll do this in English. I'm just here about the Oakwood Quarry because I remember I was here in April. Just to give you an update, because we being the Tabnet National and myself, West Island Assistance, got an email from the borough in June saying the borough will not support any organization that wants to do something on the site. I just want to make it clear what we're trying to do. We are trying to create a social economy enterprise that will take over the site and manage it. We are working with McDonald College and McGill campus. The reason I'm here today in August, because school goes back. We had 2 meetings with McGill Mac campus. Bioresource Engineering came and visited the site, and we had an online meeting regarding the site. So, and also understand the preoccupations of the borough. I'm a little disappointed seeing a document that goes back to 2020 that refers to the problems that the complexe environnemental Saint-Michel. Le dépotoir Oakwood, c'est un dépotoir de matériaux secs. It's not an organic waste site. Mineral quarry was started to be filled in the 60s. Who knows what into that? You know what? But so, and everybody, I believe you probably saw how they handled the site when the material.
Yep.
So it's a huge difference in terms of what the longevity of the site and differences. So all I would like to do is ask the borough if we could keep an open mind while we look at this, because we're not sure that we want to take on the site. By the way, we have a good relationship with Matrec. We're even discussing having a board member, someone from Matrec, sit on the board of the new social economy project that we take on. So I don't know what the risk could be for the borough, having an independent organization, social economy, but it's hard for us to go after funding or whatever if people are hearing that the borough wants to know nothing about it. So it's a 16-hectare site that has huge potentials. You've seen me here railing about the problems in Cap Saint-Jacques and Rougemont-Partage and having a place to do some agricultural project. It's got huge potential. We'd identified it. So my question is, could we just keep an open mind, Mr. Mayor, perhaps meet us in April? Because the reason I'm here today is schools going back, at MAC they're going back in August. Profs are looking for projects for their students. They have master's students looking for projects. It's a living laboratory. And the other thing I want to get back to is there's a huge difference between a dry materials landfill site, which could be 5 to 15 years to rehabilitate, versus organic household waste site, which could be 50 to 100 years. So we got to make that clear in the distinction. So I would just like to go back and say, could we please keep an open mind and perhaps at least hear us out on the project, and then we can all decide whether it's worth the while, but we think there's a huge potential for the project.
Thank you, Mr. LaBelle, for asking your question. I can hear the passion in your voice for something like this, that I think that no one opposes the noble and necessity to have this type of project be set up anywhere, because there's a definite need. We know that keeping an open, if the question is to keep an open mind, we have an open mind. The harder part that we have is that the City of Montreal has already stated clearly that there is zero intent in assuming a role of occupying that space, whoever it may be, whether there's expertise or not, because of the environmental potential impact. Now, you mentioned it about the dry materials, and I know because we go back, all of us, and you as well, to even before when that pit was so deep, you're in it and you can barely see up. That's how deep it was. And we were there at the bottom as well seeing it. So if it's a meeting that you're asking for, that we can at least look at all of that together, I have no problem with that at all. What I'd like to tell you is that the City of Montreal has closed this file because of the fact that it does, unfortunately, risk using a site that potentially has environmental issues associated with it and that you can't cultivate. Now, I know you've talked about putting raised beds and boxes and all that kind of stuff that won't even go into the soil that's there in place. That's a possibility too. But I'm not an expert in that. So I'm willing to set up a meeting together. We can get the stakeholders around the table and we can have an open discussion. And if at that point we decide that there's no other way but to close that file once and for all, well then so be it. But at least it deserves some discussion to be able to better understand the situation. And at the same time, maybe we can get somebody from Montreal as well to attend a meeting like that to, I guess, sensitize us to the situation or the potential risk in place. So we're willing to do that. So the open mind is there. It's just that you can't keep having an open mind if the roadblock is already in place. And they've already stated clearly that there is no intention of them acquiring that property for any other use but what is there now. And hold Matrec and that organization responsible to make sure that they upkeep that facility in the state that it's in today. So again, we can meet Mr. LaBelle, and again, you know that we're open to do that, and we can have at least that preliminary meeting without fail.
No, Mr. Mayor, I made an access to information request. I wanted to find out what was this. All they gave me from the borough was a report that dates back to 2020. It's anonymous from the City of Montreal and Fire Department. I don't know who wrote it.
Okay.
And they're making reference to the South Saint-Michel. So it's a completely different, and they're making references to the problems, and they're making reference to all the issues. Complexe environnemental Saint-Michel is not le dépotoir de Pierrefonds. I brought some documents I can leave with you. We have all, by the way, there's a $4.1 million closure fund available to cover all the costs. Matric has given us all the cost figures in terms of what it costs.
So let's get together,
We
Mr.
have the
LeBel.
information, but I'm just
Okay.
saying, this goes back to 2020.
I don't know who that anonymous person, as you
Well,
don't know either.
It came from, when I asked on what was the decision based not to take,
Yeah.
and and then I got the closing report, which was from 2024. That's 2,000 pages.
Okay.
Matric spent $10 million on the site to close it, to put in all the infrastructure. So let's just go through, if we could
Okay.
just meet and go through the information.
Fair enough.
Because I'd like to go back to the people at Mac Campus in McGill, because we had professors on the site from bioresource
Well,
engineering.
before we do that, because I think the approach is right, you're going to need that support at one point anyways. Let's take it a step at a time. And so, yes, let's go through all of that together. I have no problem with that. And then we identify where that information comes from and what the reasoning is. And we can try to dissect that as we go forward.
If we could do that in August, because I'd like to go back to the faculty at Mac Campus. No, because,
Let's
Mr. Mayor, they're organizing their curriculums.
Let's plan something, again, the schedule's filling up fast, but let's try to plan something next week, okay, Mr. LeBel?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Peter Van Lardingen.
Good evening, everybody.
Mr. Vlardigan, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. As you said, my name is Peter Van Vlaringen. My wife, Kathy, and I have lived at 4330 Graham for the last 26 years. And I'd like to talk to you about storm drains and curbs. As Sharkey, you know, the curbs on our street were recently, well, half of them or some of them were repaired. I have a downslope driveway. Mine was not touched at all. I asked the workers at the time why it wasn't being done. They said I had to talk to Public Works. I talked to Public Works. They basically said it's being investigated. We'll come to a decision soon. I called them a couple of weeks later. They said, oh, the work's been done. I said, no, it has not. I called them back again. They reopened the file. Long story short, this morning I was told my request had been denied completely. We were inundated with the waters last August. We have taken all the steps that we can take to mitigate this type of thing of happening again. So everything in my house is now on platforms. I've done, sump pumps and submersibles, everything that you can do at home to take care of that problem. However, the curb is low, it's cracked. Like I said, I have a downslope driveway. A new curb, even an inch taller, would help the water flow because the drain is right at the edge of my property. Also, the storm drains, they are never cleared. They're always full of debris and leaves and stuff like that. Summertime, wintertime, the plows come by. They completely cover them with snow and ice, creating essentially a dam. So water forms and slush pools form at the top of my driveway constantly. So my wife and I are constantly out there hacking away, clearing the drain. Summer, spring, winter, fall, we're cleaning the drains. Nobody else is.
What's your question, sir?
Yeah, I guess.
I know there's a lot of...
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
I'm a little passionate.
Yes.
So I guess my number one question was, what criteria was used to determine which curbs, which homes were addressed, and why wasn't homes with downslope driveways maybe prioritized over those who have a 10-foot slope going upward towards the house, at which there will never be a water problem?
Thank you very much for taking the time. And I know of your story because I've spoken to your sister
Yes,
in the
correct.
past about it. So the quick answer, and I'll let Mr. Baudouin add to it if he needs to. Whenever this type of work is done, I mean, we're passing resolutions this evening for more work that's related to this type of curbs and grass and fixing areas that need attention in a prioritative way. So when they go on a street, and as you've seen even on sources, for example, when they're changing some of the curbs and the sidewalks, they don't do all of them. They prioritize the worst sections and they do those parts. I'm surprised to hear that a downslope driveway that has already encountered severe flooding, and I know, again, your situation, without being indiscreet, I've spoken to her and she's made me aware of it. You would think that it would be prioritized, at least a section that is close to a sewer that has already had problems in the past. What we will ask Mr. Baudouin is if we can, or I'm sorry, Stefan Klinsley, sorry, to make sure that at least we can visit Mr. Van Vlardigen's home and see if it's something that we can communicate with Montreal to add to the next series of work that has to get done in the area. It's periodic. We don't have unlimited amount of funding from Montreal to be able to do entire streets, at a glance. So this is why they prioritize. But what I would have liked to have happened, again, I'm not blaming anyone, is once they know of a particular street that has to get done, and we know many of them now since the past floods, not only the river flooding, but also the rain floods, you'd think that they'd be able to prioritize some of the areas. Mr. Baudouin and I, a couple of weeks ago, visited a resident in a very similar situation, which is now going to have resolved in September because we looked at it and we said, the man is right. We had to displace ourselves, which we do on occasion, and we identified that somebody missed that one. So we're going to ask our services to follow up so that they can see, in fact, what you're saying, and I believe you because I know the area well, and Mr. Tarakjan has talked to me as well about that, a few homes on that street. We will make sure that we look at it and see what we can do and add that to a future contract as soon as we can to be able to rectify the situation for you. Again, it doesn't eliminate any threat of flooding. It will minimize the risk, hopefully, because having a downslope driveway, unfortunately, leads to potential flooding, and those types of homes haven't been built like that in ages because of that situation.
Right.
But look, these areas are old. The curbs have gone down. They weren't once what they were. Rainwater is falling much more rapidly than it was once before. Climate change, we know all of that. And so this is the kind of stuff that we're going to look at, not only in your home, but some of the others that are in your neighborhood as well, and hopefully, again, try to find resolve. As far as the sewers being cleaned out, I know there's a regular program in place. We get Sanivac that goes around. Monsieur Baudouin, une fois, 3 ans, 2 ans, every 3 to 4 years, we have a major cleanup taking place with one of the companies, which is Sanivac, and they go around and do these thousands of storm sewers, and they clean them out. You can understand with that volume, it's impossible to do that on a more regular basis, but we have a program in place, and they do that every 3 to 4 years. If, however, we discover that there is a problem, a particular problem, particularly in areas that are heavily the canopy, the trees, there's more of that falling on then we make sure we spot, identify, and analyze situations, and then we'll dispatch to go get those areas cleaned. If that's one that occurs at your home, well, that's one that I would ask Mr. Baudouin to look at and see if there's a solution for that. And the ice buildup that you say, as you know, when the plows go through, it's impossible in any city to clean the streets at the width from curb to curb. This is why you have those lines on the streets that identify where the storm sewers are. So that in case there's rain through the wind, one of the reasons, in case there's rain, you know where to identify those sewers so that they can go in and break them so that the water can flow freely. But if your area is being a recurring issue with that sewer, well, I'd ask Mr. Baudouin to identify with our teams to see if there's something that they can do there.
So are you saying that teams would normally come by after the snow plows have passed and go in and clear those drains? Or
when we know, we monitor the weather, right? You have inclement weather. We have rain sometimes that falls in the middle of winter, more often now than ever before. So when we know that there's a lot of rain predicted or projected for the coming days, I know for a fact that Mr. Baudouin and his teams go around and make sure that they clear the sewers, the storm sewers, as best as they can so that they can allow for the free flow of water. I know this is done because I've seen it often, more often now than ever before. Pardon? So l'artérielle, so on the main arteries. But
Okay.
if there's a problematic area in particular that we know of in advance, and now you've identified it,
Yep.
well, certainly Mr. Baudouin has made a note of it, and will monitor that area in terms of the ice buildup in that storm sewer to see if there's a solution for us,
Excellent.
okay?
Thank you
But
very
in the
much.
meantime, we'll be contacting you.
Yep.
And there'll be a site visit again. Hopefully, you're available to go out with the team and identify some of the issues that you have and try to find some resolve, okay?
Awesome, thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Adnan Akouri.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Bonsoir, good evening.
Mr. Mayor, it's nice.
Nice to see
seeing
you again, sir. Long time.
Well, I can come more often if you want.
It would be a pleasure to see you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. My first question is concerning the parking and the speed bumps
Yes.
on our street. And this morning, some of my neighbors told me that the speed bumps have been marked. Do you have any date when these speed bumps would
Yes.
really be put?
In the same way that we do some of that minor reparation of curbs and sidewalks, we can't do them throughout the year. So we wait from the traffic committee's recommendations to have a bunch of them that have been confirmed by council. Once it is adopted here, we have a group of them, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever it is, and then we go out to tender. So your area should be done, I would say, later this month, if not early September.
Good.
Okay? And the only reason it hasn't been done, even though the decision was taken, for example, we have many traffic committee decisions that we're making tonight. It doesn't mean as soon as we do them, they happens the next week. We wait for them to accumulate, because the more you have, the cheaper it gets for a city in order for us to do that. And it generally happens at the same time when we do road resurfacing. So when the contractor is there for road resurfacing, we also have on that appel d'offres these speed bumps as well at the particular places that they're identified. In your area, I know for a fact has been already identified.
Okay, good. Thank you. The second question is concerning the no parking zone in front of our house, and you saw it. And according to the regulation of the city, it says that it has to be 30 meters from Gouin till the... Incidentally, in our case, the no parking zone from the other side, on the east side of the street until Gouin, it's much more than this.
Right.
And I sent an email to the city or la circulation,
Yeah.
asking them when they intend to move it to the 3.
Right?
This will give us at least 2 more parking spots. And as you know, parking in our street is a big problem.
Yeah.
So until now, I haven't got any answer about this. And
Yeah.
if you respect the rules of the city, this no parking pole has to be advanced until the big 3, as you saw it in my picture.
Yes, and in fact, if I remember vaguely from the meetings that we held with the traffic committee, I know that you know that I preside the committee. I know that we have members at this table that also sit there.
Give me their names.
If I remember correctly, it's because on the 30-meter rule, it's because there is a curve as well. Est-ce que je me trompe ou c'est ça? That is the reason why on your little stretch of road from Gouin, past the 30 meters, you fall within the curve. And because the curve is there, it creates an unnecessary obstruction if cars were to be parked there. You wouldn't see you wouldn't see a vehicle coming out of Felix McLaren until the last minute. And again, I'm going vaguely by memory here. Si c'est vraiment le cas, juste me corriger si je me trompe, mais c'est ça la décision qu'on avait prise, hein? C'est ça? Exactly. So it's because of the curvature in the street that 30 meters has to be extended, because the visibility as you come in from Gouin isn't there. And so you have to have that clear vision to the street when it starts turning straight. That is the reason why it's there. But we'll be happy to look at it again. Monsieur Véraud, who manages these files for us at the administrative level, I believe is just coming back from vacation. We will make sure that we make him aware of your visit this evening. Yes. And I think in June, he contacted you with some of your questions that you may have had. Is that true?
Well, it was emails exchanged.
Okay.
There, but when I went back on the 30-meter thing, he never came back
okay,
to me.
well,
I understand that there is a curve.
Yeah.
But to be honest, even if you come at high speed from Gouin, you can still see a car.
Yeah,
But the situation on our streets parking is really hellish.
yeah.
And we exchange, and so
You know what the problem is? One of the problems is, and I hear you what you're saying, and I'm going to ask Monsieur Véraud to do a follow-up with you, okay?
can I meet with them?
I will do that. But one of the issues, too, in that area, particularly in the eastern portion, when these homes were built way, way back, they didn't anticipate the amount of vehicles that people had, right? And so the driveways are very close together on one side of the street particularly, where it doesn't allow for a lot of parking necessarily. And so you're limited. Plus the narrowness of the street didn't allow us to have both side parking. It would make the street narrower and more dangerous. And so this is why these decisions have to be made. And again, we don't make this at the administrative level. We have the police there. We have the engineers there. We have public works there. We have me there. We have citizen representation as well at this committee. So it's not a unilateral decision, right? As we mentioned when I came and I met all of you that day. But we are going to come and make sure that we at least give you the reasoning behind the curve. We can be in the debate where whether it's 30 or 50 or 60, the problem is still there. I don't want to do that. I mean, I hear you, and I'm glad you came this evening, and we'll make sure that Monsieur Véraud gets back to you with hopefully a more understandable reasoning behind our decision for that, okay?
At the end, at the close of this topic, honestly, I want to thank you for coming to our place and for your time. In the meantime, to apologize, because obviously it was a waste of time for you.
No, it wasn't.
I will tell
No,
you
but it
why.
wasn't.
I will tell you why, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I had the chance to meet one of the employees of Pierrefonds. It was before sending these mails back and forth. And I remember exactly what he said. He told me, il y avait un relâchement à Pierrefonds. Maintenant que je suis là, ça va changer. So, which means that whichever excuses or reasons or suggestion we give to the city of Pierrefonds, nothing was taken into consideration. They always come up with une citoyenne se plainte, mais nous sommes 50 maisons avec tous ces citoyens-là. Et comme vous avez dit, certains d'entre eux ont dit qu'ils vont s'exprimer bientôt. Mais les suggestions qu'on avait présentées avec le stationnement, sans qu'on stationne les deux voitures en même temps, rien n'a été pris en considération par la ville. Donc, c'est comme s'ils étaient respectueusement bornés dès le début. On ne va pas changer, on va
Non,
pas changer.
pas du tout, monsieur. Avec respect. On prend tout en considération. Les décisions prises par l'arrondissement, c'est au niveau de la sécurité. Maintenant, on peut faire le débat sur la sécurité, mais c'est la sécurité qui gère les décisions prises par l'administration. Si vous n'êtes pas d'accord avec les décisions, c'est correct, c'est votre droit. Mais de dire qu'on n'est pas à l'écoute, c'est malheureusement pas correct, parce qu'on est à l'écoute. Mais des fois, on est très limité, surtout quand on parle de sécurité, qu'est-ce qu'on peut et qu'est-ce qu'on ne peut pas faire. Maintenant, je vais terminer avec ça. Si on vous écoute, puis on fait qu'est-ce que vous demandez. Prenons l'exemple de 30 mètres de l'intersection. Et si on sait très bien à l'avance que le 30 mètres termine aux courbes de la rue, et on sait très bien que ça pose un problème au niveau de sécurité, et on prolonge le 30 mètres pour sécuriser le secteur, votre secteur, et les citoyens qui demeurent dans ce secteur-là, c'est la décision qu'on prend. Et c'est dommage que les gens disent, ben, on n'est pas à l'écoute, puis on va prendre la décision autrement. Ben, c'est correct, c'est votre droit, monsieur. Mais nous, on le fait pour la sécurité des gens. Malheureusement, et je comprends très bien votre point, avec respect, les gens ne sont pas 100% satisfaits à chaque décision qu'on prend ici. Je suis d'accord avec vous. Mais malheureusement, on a pris la décision pour sécuriser la rue. Mais entre-temps, je vais demander à M. Véraud de communiquer avec vous directement. D'accord?
Parfait.
Allez, merci beaucoup.
Merci. Bonne soirée tout le monde.
Merci à vous aussi.
Je vais avoir besoin d'une prolongation, M. le maire, s'il vous plaît.
Je propose.
J'appuie. Au prochain intervenant, Mr. Richard Skirrick.
Good
evening.
Good evening, sir.
Mayor Bees and
Good evening.
council members.
Base.
A base, I'm sorry.
Base. Not at all.
You look always as dapper in person as you do on TV. I've been a resident of Pierrefonds for the last 45 years, and I too live on Graham. I too also experienced the work that was done a month ago on the curbs, and I'm totally dissatisfied with the job they did. I know that the dollars are scarce, but when they came and did my curb, I had cracks all over, and they ended up doing half of the curb. The other cracks on the other half, all they did was put cement on it, and it's already falling apart. Also, I have a Unistone driveway. When they took the Unistone driveway apart to do the curb, they had a subcontractor come back to reinstall it. Now I've got dips in my Unistone, which I called back the city and complained. Your inspector came and looked at it. No, first of all, the contractor, I'm sorry, the city called back the subcontractor that
Yes.
they hired to put.
Yes.
He came, he was a young lad, he was a little arrogant, and he said, oh, no, it's fine. If I straighten it out, you're gonna have water there. I said, no, it's the contrary. With the dips, I'm gonna have water. So he left, and he said, if you're not happy, call the city, which I did. City sent an inspector, the inspector looked at it, said, you know, he could have done a better job. Today, I did call the city again to do a follow-up, because it's been a few weeks, and I was told that the inspector did not include anything into the file. So they've reopened a new file, and hopefully I will get resolved to the problem. But I don't understand, and also I was here 2 years ago, Mayor, when you told me an inspector will call you regarding the paving
Yep.
of the street.
Yep.
I was told a few weeks ago, and I saw them putting little flags for gas met and all that they were gonna come and resurface the pavement, hopefully in August or September, which I'll be grateful, because I've only lived there for 45 years and paid my taxes
Yeah.
like everybody else.
What's your question for us
My
this evening, sir?
question is, I'm not a happy camper being a resident of Pierrefonds, watching the street being patched up so many times, and half curbs being done, like the gentleman that just mentioned. They do sections, and other sections, they do little repairs. You're gonna resurface our street, well, then do the curbs properly. Why do a half-assed job?
Again, the quick answer to that is, as I mentioned earlier, they prioritize the type of work that's done. I mean, to redo an entire street, if it's just a resurfacing, it would cost millions. And again, I say this with all respect, because we have over 260 kilometers of streets.
I know, you told me that 2 years ago.
I told you that as well,
Yes,
right?
Yes, yes.
And there are some streets, like yours, that haven't been touched in 50 years. My street probably hasn't been done either in 50 years. Most of us where we live, it's the same thing. The amount of streets that we're able to do, there's two types. There's one where they do the surface, and there's others that are done bottom up, that has to get infrastructure changed and so on, following an analysis that's done with the Waterworks Services of Montreal. They know by community which ones are in the worst state that have to be done bottom up. I'm not sure how many 100 meters we have of bottom up type work, but it's not much. So when you start looking at that amount in 250 kilometers, boy, you say to yourself, it's going to take hundreds of years before everything's done, right? So this is why they prioritize the action. And I don't have the map in front of me, if Graham will be resurfaced anytime soon. Est-ce que vous voulez? So it's contracted this year. It should be done within this fall, before the winter, right? C'est ça. So Graham has been done. And the only reason they do that patchwork on the curbs and sidewalks in many cases is because that's to follow. They don't just do it to do it and then they leave. They do it because they're anticipating a resurfacing. And we know that resurfacing can last anywhere between 5 and 7 years under normal wear.
You're talking about the asphalt.
Right, when they do the grading and then they do the coat on top, right? That takes about 7 years. It gives you some leeway because not only don't you have the funding, but you also don't have the capacity to be able to do every street bottom up. And your area, as is confirmed, will be done, thankfully, at that time. But in the meantime, what I'd like somebody to do is come and see the area that you said where it's
Absolutely.
cracked.
Absolutely.
If it's falling apart already, well, then maybe we need to look at that.
Absolutely.
Okay? So I see nodding of the head here by our services. We'll make sure that somebody contacts you, okay? Again, it's not a perfect science, right? And as you mentioned yourself, when these contracts are given, I'll give you an example, the garbage. Mega contract throughout Montreal, yet we have issues with the contractor, and we have half the time non-stop deflecting of calls and goaltending because the contractor's not doing their job according to the contract that they signed and they're bound by, to the point where we've given them fines of over $170,000 already for non-respect of the contract. So when it is a contractor that these services give contracts to, there is a follow-up to be made. So if something is falling apart because of work that was done by them just so recently, well, they're accountable. So we'll make sure that at least the services follow up on those two levels and hopefully get, again, like some other cases here, some resolve for you this evening, okay?
Mayor, if you would see some of the jobs that they do,
I see them.
it's incredible.
I see them.
I mean, a child could do a better job.
Well, I don't know if a child could do a better job, but I
Well,
understand
I'll
your
tell you.
point. I understand your point. And I have seen them, and I have even commented myself and intervened on cases where I have seen firsthand. I have made the effort of going to see residents when these situations arise to see visually myself, because it's not because I don't believe anybody, it's because sometimes you need to see it, right? And then we'll dispatch a team or somebody will contact the contractor and then get them on site and do some corrective work. We have that happen all the time, unfortunately. Not only us, in other cities too.
And I look forward to meeting with them.
All right. Thank you so
Please,
much for
but
coming in this
Hopefully
evening.
this will happen, because 2 years ago, I was supposed to get the call from the inspector, never got it.
Well, that I apologize in advance. I don't know what could have happened
Well,
there, but now
whatever.
you've expressed yourself and you
Yes.
saw the nodding of the heads as
Yeah.
well, and hopefully we can do that, okay?
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Mr. James Mark Patterson.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I've got a swimming pool. There's a mandatory fence requirement coming in for September 30th.
Yes.
I've heard it on the radio, I think. And anyway, when I got closer to getting a contract for my fence, I heard that Dollard pass a bylaw which permitted having hydraulic self-closing, self-latching doors as a substitute for putting a fence. Has Pierrefonds passed a similar bylaw so that I don't have to put a fence? Do you know?
No, we're going by what the regulation has given us in terms of the provincial law, and we've actually been even stricter because, again, it involves security, and we make sure that when we did analyze what the government was proposing, particularly with the child-type fencing that they had proposed as being acceptable, we went above and beyond. I have to tell you also that even before the government's decree and this one-year extension that they gave for people to respect the new law by the end of September, we were even stricter even before any law came into effect or will come into effect. What Dollard has done, I have no idea. We haven't heard of anything that Dollard has done as being respecting the law that is proposed by the Quebec government. I can't speak of that, but you made mention of that this evening, and we're going to verify.
Yeah.
But the law is very clear in terms of what folks have to do. And I understand it's an additional cost for everybody because it's something that's come from the Quebec government, and we need to respect that. The fact that Dollard had put in these hydraulic closures on the fence, we're not aware of that. But our teams can contact Dollard to find out how they came about. But that doesn't sound like anything we've heard in the past.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm his wife.
Go
and
ahead.
we just- I was here, I went to this borough
Yeah.
city hall, I've been here several times
Yeah.
about the pool fence, and I asked about this, and they told me, yes, it's fine, we're going to pass the bylaw in Pierrefonds. That's why we're here. So now I'm confused.
I don't know who told you that.
At the borough where you go in and get a ticket and you sit at the counter and
They told you that we're passing a bylaw that will include that.
I asked about this. I said, Dollard did this. She said, yes, we're aware. And yes, it'll be accepted here as well. And I said, well, I need it in writing or something.
Right.
Like I would like to see. And she said, well, there's no meeting in July, so it'll be in August. And that's what she told me.
That
So-
sounds, no, I'm looking at M. Kennel, M. Gauthier. Je ne sais pas si M. Kennel voulait parler de cette situation, but this is news to us because there's nothing being passed to that effect.
No, I can assure you, we don't have any projects in preparation for amending the pool bylaws for fencing. The government has issued a new revised document in order what you can do and what you can't. Maybe she was referring to that and to the application of future standards. I know that now the government does allow some flexibility over the fences. There are some possibilities for people not to put a fence when they only have access from their house to the pool, as the possibility of including measures to have a self-closing patio door.
Yes.
This is within the new guide of the government that was issued in May 2025, and we're applying basically every standards in there. Further, the only difference in between what the government is asking and the borough, as Mr. Mayor has stated, is we do not accept flexible fences such as the commonly known as a protected child. This is the only difference. The rest is still what is within this guide here that you probably got on the internet, and it's a new revised document that the government has.
So the new
Post.
revision says that your house could be considered the barrier if you have the
Yes, as
self-closing-
long as you have this self-closing patio
Yes.
door with a locking gate located at 1.5 meters high.
Yes.
This is a new standard. It
Okay,
was a
so-
new device that was not, we didn't knew it even existed. So we're willing
So-
to have that flexibility, no problem.
Okay, so.
What I recommend you do, because it's pretty specific.
Yes,
We don't want you to get it wrong either.
right.
So what I recommend we do is, Monsieur Kennel, si quelqu'un peut communiquer avec ce couple pour au moins discuter ce dossier pour leur propriété.
Yes, we can do that, as it is the responsibility of every owner that has a pool before 2010 to ask for a permit
Right.
in order to make sure that whatever you're doing is in conformity with the government. So with that permit, then you can engage some
So you,
expense.
even for the window limiters and the door, we need the
Exactly,
permit.
window limiters are permitted as long as if
What
it's an
about
egress, etc.
permanent
There's our
screens?
standards, but I'll get in contact with you and
Okay.
I'll explain you
'Cause
everything.
Okay, I've been there 5 times. I was hoping for this. Thank you.
No problem.
Let me also add, if I could, the deadline's coming up fast.
Yes,
There are some folks that can't get contractors, for example, to do the final work, right? The intention here and the goal is not to send out inspectors and start giving tickets and fines to everybody, okay? We need to be flexible here and realistic. There are some folks that may not be able to respect the deadline date. Then winter's coming, right? I urge you to try to do it before that date. But I also urge us with you to take the time necessary to make sure that we get it right. So we don't have to come back in the spring and say, well, we forgot to tell you this, or you didn't do that, and then find ourselves in another situation, okay? So let's do it, in steps. This is the first step that our teams will guide you, because look, some of us I don't have the expertise. If I had a pool, I wouldn't know what the heck I was doing. And I'm being sincere when I tell you that. So there are some folks that may have had pools for 20 years, but these regulations somehow are so detailed that it's not easy for everybody, for all of us even, to understand. And that's why we have experts in place that can at least hopefully guide you to do the right thing, okay?
perfect. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you, folks.
Okay, thank you.
No, I can't have that, Paul, David, I'm sorry, I can't.
So were you Mr. Fagan, or? Okay, so you can go to the microphone.
So we have Mr. Peterson, is that it?
No, Mr. Fagan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm here basically to talk about the speeding on Pierrefonds Boulevard and the resulting muffler noise, for that matter, that is a result of it. I did send to your office a couple of sound bites, if you
Yep.
remember,
Yep.
of some cars that, there's no way they have legal muffler systems and so forth. But the speeding has gotten to the point now, and it's especially between, I'd say, Rennie-Amard and West Park Boulevard, even more so Richmond to Fredmere.
There were cars clocked at over 100 kilometers an hour on Pierrefonds Boulevard
Absolutely.
in the west.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, what I've looked at some numbers, and it takes like 7 seconds to go 0 to 50.
Yep.
And it's 40 seconds. If you're going from Richmond to, from Richmond to Fredmere, in 40 seconds, you're at 90 kilometers an hour.
Yep.
I mean, it's gotten to the point now where it's dangerous. It's dangerous even to walk on Pierrefonds Boulevard, because some guy jumps the curb, you're dead.
Yep.
What I'd like to see is it possible, I know speed radar systems are expensive, but that's one way to give out tickets. And the tickets themselves, I mean, 3 tickets a day at $300 at each speeding, I mean, you'd be clocking well over $300,000 a year of revenue, Pierrefonds, City of Montreal, whatever have you. So there's an option of that. There's an option of putting up some of those signs that say the speed limit is 50, you're going 70, you're going 90. It's unbelievable. I mean, if you stand on the corners of these of Pierrefonds Boulevard, it's there. I mean,
So what's your question tonight,
my
sir?
question is, what is the city planning on doing about it?
2 things. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. I agree generally with most citizens, but I agree with you 100%. Speeding, and I've said this many times, to the point where I've dizzied myself saying it, is probably one of the biggest challenges every community faces. The non-respect of road rules is the #1 issue that we deal with and is one of the most difficult to control. Stop signs, people never stop at them properly. And I know this for a fact. We are on the ground constantly. I cycle thousands of kilometers in the community and in other communities. Pierrefonds Boulevard clocks at 100 to 120 kilometers an hour sometimes. I'm disappointed tonight, but the commander's on vacation and couldn't dispatch someone to come in his shoes this evening. Normally, these are comments that we bring up to the commander. I meet with them on a regular basis. We have issues that we deal with throughout the community, and this is one I bring up constantly. We've brought this up on Pierrefonds Boulevard. They have ticketed continuously folks on Pierrefonds Boulevard. They have also made sure that they stop cars that have these modified mufflers. They even have a program in place. I don't remember the name of it particularly, but he brought it up again last month, where they target these modified little hot rods and they ticket them and they give them a timeline for them to get it removed. Otherwise, they can get their cars seized. They have these things in place. But realistically and honestly, I can tell you anything I want, but realistically, the police do not have the resources on the road to be able to monitor every inch of our territory. That is the reality in every community. When I have 3 or 4 cars that patrol my entire sector, including Ile Bizarre Saint-Geneviève, how do you want them to stop, even 1 car on Pierrefonds Boulevard if they have an incredible territory to cover? So when we know of a situation like you mentioned on Pierrefonds Boulevard, what we do is we contact the police department. We tell them, look, we have residents that are complaining about this and that. They create a blitz and provide a presence in any particular area, and they make sure they target. I know where the police are on Pierrefonds Boulevard. I could tell you now where they will be tomorrow. But they can only stop so many vehicles. The problem is the folks behind the wheel. How do you change the attitude of the drivers that have zero respect for anything until something happens? We had a city truck where they were painting lines one night. Dominique, tu te souviens? We had a city truck in the middle of the night painting lines on Pierrefonds Boulevard near Paiement. Monsieur Baudouin? Painting lines. Cones, flashing lights, the dead of night. A car raced by at Pierrefonds Boulevard, 120, 130, 140 kilometers, sideswiped our employee. Okay? And this was one of many situations that we never hear of because it never happens yet. But it will. So what we do is we make sure we tell the police. Can we put speed bumps on Pierrefonds Boulevard? No, because it's a major artery.
No, speed bumps, not realistic.
But
I
even,
agree.
but even that, even if you look at speed bumps, you know, somebody asked me the other day, in this last 4 years, let's say, I'm guessing, we've put in over 115, 120 speed bumps. What often happens is you're on that road with a speed bump. What do? If you know the area well and you live in that area even, you're going to bypass that street that has the speed bumps and you're going to do the same ridiculous behavior on the street neighboring. And you live in that area. So it's sort of a catch-up thing. And we're trying to make sure that we try to address these issues as they come. Your situation is major. And it's very troubling because I look at the buildings on Pierrefonds Boulevard, which we've told the police many times. You have a lot of the folks that don't even cross at the intersections. What are they going to do? All along Pierrefonds Boulevard, for that matter. They'll cross at the easiest spot, crossing 4 lanes, and where there's no median, they'll cross 4 lanes plus the open center lane. And cars are rolling at, I'm rolling at 55, I'm being honest, 60 sometimes, and cars are blowing by me.
Is photo radar a viable option?
So I was going to get to that. No, because that's a provincial jurisdiction. But what we've done is we've piggybacked on a program where we're getting, I believe, 60 les radars? 42. So we were able to tap into a program that was offered, and we're getting 42 of those speed markers. You know, when you're going on a street and it tells you you're going X speed, and then it'll flash, it'll tell you you're going over the speed limit. Yep. We're getting 42 of those that we're going to install in strategic locations. Now, will it be the end-all of what you're saying? No. But hopefully it's going to touch a part of their consciousness, and it's going to make them use better behavior and better judgment. What I urge you to do, please, if you haven't already, we will relay that information to the police again, as I always do, as we always do as council. But I urge you to do the same.
I've gone to the police department numerous times over the years.
Good.
I've made the complaints on paper the way they requested.
Good.
They've said what you've said, it's a manpower situation, which I can understand, but it doesn't take much to have somebody out there knocking out a few tickets a day.
But they do that. They do that. I know where they're parked. I can take you tomorrow and I can show you exactly where they are. So I know it happens, but they can't do that 24/7.
Yeah.
And right now, if we were to go right now, you and I, at the corner of Richmond and Pierrefonds Boulevard, we would see exactly what you're talking about.
Well, at least if you're putting out the flashing stuff that says it's 50, you're
Yep.
going 80,
Yep.
it's a good start.
Yep. And we have also the flashing lights that we've put on sources below Gouin at Riverdale, L'Altitude. We also have them on René Mard. So, yeah, the flashing lights that identify a school zone. Those seem to work as well. But look, for lack of just going any further, we will make sure we get that information out. We also have a campaign that we start right before school season starts with videos. We've gone to great lengths to provide information to residents. We put it on our social media feeds, on our website. We have videos that we've produced to make people understand not to pass, believe it or not, they still don't understand that they can't pass a school bus when the light's flashing, and people do still. So we've done this in collaboration with our SPVM, but we also have to understand that responsibility falls as well to the folks behind the wheel. And unfortunately, there are some that will never understand unless there's an accident, unfortunately. Thank you so much for coming this evening. Thank you.
Il reste une question, Monsieur le maire.
Oui.
Mr. David Pouliot.
Good evening, Mr. Pouliot.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Well, we're going to continue the same old song and dance. I've got a petition. Speed bumps.
Amazing.
Went up and down Perron from Gouin to the tracks.
Yeah.
Not everybody signed it. I've had 4 no's. Everybody else has pretty much agreed with it, and some people were on their knees kissing me, going, thank you. Somebody's finally doing something. I've seen it. I've shown Benoit a video of it.
You've shown us. You sent it to us, yes.
A car coming up to do a stop at Richmond, and a guy coming up behind him, a kid, passes him at the stop sign.
Yeah.
Blows right by. We see it. I have a lovely lady over there who's the neighbor, and it's just crazy. I mean, somebody's going to die. And so we're requesting speed bumps, not only on Perron, but, as you said, on the 2 side streets, Legary and Bourassa. Because we know what's going to happen. I was young and immature. So were a lot of these kids who are doing this. And somebody's going to die. And to prevent it, we're requesting speed bumps.
Can I just answer that first part?
Sure.
You can do it.
Well, simply because we preside the traffic committee, and if I mentioned to you the last time, the way it works, and we'll take the petition, thank you for doing all that work. The way it works is we have a committee in place where around the table we have Public Works for different reasons. I mean, they need to analyze the operations as well, what is doable in a certain area. We have our engineers, we have our urban planners, we have the police with us, we have citizens that sit on this committee with me, and every request that we get is analyzed to the point where we make sure we not only monitor the number of vehicles that pass on this street in both directions, but also clock their speed for a period of time. Once we look at that, we make sure that a recommendation comes to council. As tonight, we have a series of recommendations following some of these analyses that we've done. And then a decision is taken to apply, as we did on Oakwood, if you remember, where we put 4 or 5 or 6 speed bumps, and it corrected that problem immediately on Oakwood, which became a connector from St. Charles into all those residential areas. Created issues somewhere else, but at least that area was secured to a certain degree. Perron is another one that we're going to look at, and we're going to add to the agenda of the committee to make sure that we address it from Gouin, as you mentioned, even from Pierrefonds Boulevard and even below Pierrefonds Boulevard, because it could happen from people turning on Pierrefonds Boulevard that they're racing up to Gouin before they even get to the other section of Perron. So we're going to look at all of that. At the same time, what we've gotten into the habit of doing is doing exactly what you're proposing. We're saying that if we are asked to identify a street, we start to look on the map, what are some of the possibilities that could arise? Can people detour to take another one of those side streets? And then what's the action we're going to take? Exactly. So all I needed, and I know you worked hard to get a petition, but all I needed is one person to make that request, and that would have been you. So once that one person makes a request, it triggers us to start the process, which we will do, okay?
Yeah. Now, sorry. We've had the speed sign telling us how fast we're going, which I think is, in my mind, ridiculous because I'm a kid. Well, I was a kid, maybe still am. But when these kids are doing 80 down my street, and let me tell you, I was generally about 5 kilometers off. The fastest I've seen some guy come down our street, and I kid you not, he was over 110 kilometers an hour. And to the point, he was going towards Gouin. He was in a 4-wheel skid going around that curve between Richer and Monk.
Have you ever called the police on all this?
All the time.
Okay. So we're going to do the same, okay? I can tell you also that regardless of the analysis we're going to do for Perron, it's impossible that it'll happen this year. The analysis will happen this year. However, the installation of speed bumps won't, because the contract that is given out now for the series of speed bumps that we're putting out in August and September doesn't leave us enough time before the winter kicks in.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, because at least the decision will be taken, and then come spring, we'll be able to put those measures in place, okay? What's the other question you had, Dave?
Just to let you, we had a police officer, we were discussing, me and the neighbors, about the speeding. They came with 2 female officers in one car. And as we were talking, the car just went flying right by us. And the two officers were literally looking at each other going, are you serious? This is happening right in front of us? And they come back 20 minutes later, yeah, we made him cry and we gave him his ticket. But that's how bad it is.
What's the other points you had?
The
Mr.
other
Pouliot?
point, poison ivy. I've dealt with the city, nothing. I've dealt with REM, nothing. I've started processing today. I'm going to the news. Any news outlet that is going to listen to me, I'm going to be making that complaint.
As poison ivy where?
At Briarwood.
At Briarwood, in
At
the
Briarwood.
pool?
Yeah, yes.
Or
And it's
outside the
coming-
fence?
It's coming from
the REM? Okay.
onto our property.
Okay.
And
Who have you, you've contacted the REM?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
we're in contact with them now, and they're brushing us off.
Okay,
So our next, I'm just letting you and the council know, I've started calling CTV News.
Okay.
And any news outlet that's going to listen. But right now, the city, when I've called 311, nothing has come about it.
Okay.
So I don't know.
We'll make sure sorry to cut you off, Mr. Pouliot, but we'll make sure that we contact our counterparts in Montreal, and they'll make sure that the REM authorities are made aware of the situation on our behalf. And we see what happens there, okay?
Yep.
We don't have jurisdiction to even go on site to take care of it if we had to, for example.
Right.
But it's their responsibility to make sure, if anything, at least they identify that it's there. As you see at Cap Saint-Jacques, for example, poison ivy is all along Cap Saint-Jacques. They don't cut it. They just put signage out to inform folks that it's there, right? But I don't know the severity of where it is at Briarwood, so we're going to make sure that at least we send that information to the authorities in Montreal, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can give it to Mr. Jacob. Thank you, Mr. Pouliot. Monsieur Gauthier.
Ça termine la période de questions, Monsieur le maire.
Merci. Dans l'ordre du jour, le 10-03, que soit adopté tel que soumis l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro le 4 août 2025.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. Le 10-04, que les procès-verbaux des séances ordinaires et extraordinaires du Conseil tenues le 2 juin 2025 à 19h, le 25 juin 2025 à 8h30, le 2 juillet 2025 à 11h et le 28 juillet 2025 à 8h30 soient approuvés tels que soumis aux membres du Conseil avant la présente séance et versés aux archives de l'arrondissement.
Je n'étais pas présente. Monsieur le maire, je n'étais pas présente à celle du 2 juillet.
Parfait.
Je propose.
Et j'appuie.
Merci. Le 15-01, que le Conseil d'arrondissement proclame le mois de septembre comme étant le mois de la sensibilisation de l'arthrite afin d'aider la Société de l'arthrite du Canada à transmettre le message aux résidents de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro et ainsi illustrer notre soutien aux personnes atteintes de cette maladie et à leurs familles.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. Le 1502, that the Borough of Pierrefonds-Roxboro participate in the fight against PKD on September 4th, National Polycystic Kidney Disease Awareness Day, as recognized by Health Canada, that the Council encourage the population to support generously the cause of the Canadian PKD Foundation to improve the quality of life for those affected by PKD.
I propose.
I concur.
Merci.
Point 20.01, que le Conseil d'arrondissement autorise une dépense totale de 241 992,94 sous, à savoir un montant de 198 354,87 sous, taxes incluses pour le contrat de 29 753,23 sous, taxes incluses pour les contingences et 13 884,84 taxes incluses pour les incidences pour des travaux de drainage, d'aménagement paysager et travaux connexes à différentes adresses dans l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro. D'octroyer aux seuls soumissionnaires conformes, les entreprises Congénex, Inc., le contrat numéro ST2521, soit un maximum de 198 354,87 taxes incluses conformément aux documents d'appel d'offres préparés pour ce contrat, que cette dépense soit imputée conformément aux informations financières contenues au sommaire décisionnel.
Je propose.
J'appuie. Au point 2.02, que le conseil d'arrondissement reconnaisse l'organisme à but non lucratif dans le cadre de la politique de reconnaissance et de soutien des organismes à but non lucratif au BNL de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro, élaboré par la Direction culture, sport, loisirs, développement social, le comité d'action des locataires de l'ouest de l'île, que cette reconnaissance de l'organisme entre en vigueur dès son adoption.
Alors, je propose
J'appuie.
le 20.03, que le conseil d'arrondissement approuve la convention à intervenir entre la Ville de Montréal, arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro, et l'organisme, merci, Table de quartier du nord-ouest de l'île de Montréal dans le cadre du programme Initiative montréalaise de soutien au développement social local, que Mme Louise Zampini, chef de division Culture, Bibliothèque et Développement social, soit autorisée à signer la convention au nom de la Ville, d'octroyer à cet organisme une contribution financière de 31 113 $ pour la période du 5 août 25 au 31 août 26, entièrement financée par la Ville-Centre. Que cette dépense soit imputée conformément aux informations contenues dans le sommaire décisionnel.
Je propose.
J'appuie. Pour le point 30.01, que la reddition financière, les bons de commande approuvés, les factures payées sans bons de commande, les virements budgétaires et la liste des engagements des différents services de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro au montant de 965 980,57 $ couvrant la période du 26 avril au 27 juin 2025, ainsi que la liste des achats effectués par l'entremise de cartes de crédit et autres imputations directes pour la période du 1er au 30 avril 2025 au montant de 236 767 et 11 sous, soit approuvé tel que soumis aux membres du conseil d'arrondissement.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Que le conseil d'arrondissement approuve la répartition de l'affectation du surplus de gestion dégagé l'exercice financier 2024 au montant de 1 094 300 de façon suivante, conformément aux règles d'affectation du surplus, qu'un montant de 50 500 $ soit affecté à la stabilisation des coûts santé et sécurité au travail, qu'un montant de 200 000 $ soit affecté à la réserve pour l'équilibre budgétaire, que le solde de 843 800 $ du surplus de 2024 soit considéré comme un surplus libre à l'usage de l'arrondissement.
Je propose.
Et j'appuie.
Merci. Maintenant, j'invite les personnes ayant intérêt pour la demande de dérogation mineure au point suivant à se faire entendre. 40.01, que le conseil d'arrondissement approuve la demande de dérogation mineure au règlement de zonage mentionné visant à permettre pour l'agrandissement d'un bâtiment commercial existant une marge latérale côté est de 1,76 m au lieu de minimum requis de 3 mètres mentionné dans la grille de spécification dans la zone C5-311, une porte de garage non vitrée au lieu d'une porte vitrée en totalité, comme le prévoit l'article 269 du règlement de zonage numéro mentionné au 13 057 boulevard Gouin-Ouest, le lot mentionné dans la rubrique. 40.01.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. Le 40.02, que le conseil d'arrondissement prenne acte du dépôt du procès-verbal de la séance d'assemblée publique de consultation tenue le 19 juin 2025 concernant le projet de règlement mentionné modifiant le règlement du zonage relativement au niveau minimum requis pour accéder à un garage situé en souterrain et aux modifications autorisées à une construction dérogatoire.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
40.03, que soit adopté tel que soumis le second projet de règlement CA 29 0040 70 modifiant le règlement de zonage relativement au niveau minimum requis pour accéder à un garage situé en souterrain et aux modifications autorisées en construction dérogatoire.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci.
40.04, que le conseil d'arrondissement prenne acte du dépôt du procès-verbal de la séance d'assemblée publique de consultation tenue le 19 juin 2025 concernant le projet de règlement, CA 290040-71, modifiant le règlement de zonage CA 290040 afin d'ajuster certaines dispositions interprétatives et normatives pour le secteur du boulevard Saint-Charles.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
40.05, que soit adopté le règlement CA 290040-71, modifiant le règlement de zonage CA 290040 afin d'ajuster certaines dispositions interprétatives et normatives pour le secteur du boulevard Saint-Charles.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. 40.06, que le Conseil d'arrondissement prenne acte du dépôt du procès verbal de la séance d'assemblée publique de consultation tenue le 19 juin 2025 concernant le projet de règlement CA 290041-4, modifiant le règlement de lotissement CA 290041 afin d'ajouter une disposition relative au morcellement de l'eau dans le secteur du boulevard Saint-Charles.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
40.07, que soit adopté le règlement CA 290041-4, modifiant le règlement de lotissement CA 290041 afin d'ajouter une disposition relative au morcellement de l'eau dans le secteur du boulevard Saint-Charles.
Je propose.
J'appuie. Le 4008, que le Conseil d'arrondissement prenne acte de dépôt du procès verbal de la séance d'assemblée publique de consultation tenue le 19 juin 2025 concernant le projet de règlement CA 29004-3 modifiant le règlement relatif au plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturelle CA 290042 afin d'apporter diverses corrections et ajustements aux articles concernant les ajouts d'étages et les agrandissements résidentiels, les clôtures situées sur un terrain riverain et sur le parcours riverain, aux renseignements et aux documents exigés pour une demande et aux dispositions administratives et générales.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
40.09, que soit adopté le règlement C1 290042-3 modifiant le règlement relatif au plan d'implémentation et d'intégration architecturelle CA 290042 afin d'apporter diverses corrections et ajustements aux articles concernant les ajouts d'étages et les agrandissements résidentiels, les clôtures situées sur un terrain riverain et sur les parcours riverains, aux renseignements et aux documents exigés pour une demande et aux dispositions administratives et générales.
Je propose.
J'appuie. 40.10, that the Borough Council adopts bylaw CA 290148, repealing bylaw CA 290108 relating to libraries in the borough of Pierrefonds-Roxboro.
Je propose.
I concur.
40.11, that the Borough Council adopts the Code of Conduct of the libraries in the Borough of Pierrefonds-Roxboro and that it comes into effect on September 1st, 2025.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
That the Borough Council for 4012, that the Borough Council adopts by virtue of bylaw CA 290045 concerning specific construction, alteration, or occupancy proposals for an immovable SCAOP, the resolution authorizing a new 11-bedroom community building on lot 6,615,879 as part of Quebec's Affordable Housing Program and the Rapid Housing Initiative Program, and that notwithstanding any contradicting provisions of the zoning bylaw of CA 290040. I propose.
I concur.
Que le Conseil d'arrondissement au 4013 s'adresse une demande de prolongation de délai de 6 mois à la ministre des Affaires municipales afin que l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro adopte ses règlements de concordance au plan d'urbanisme et de mobilité, d'autoriser Maître Jean-François Gauthier, secrétaire d'arrondissement, à transmettre à la ministre des Affaires municipales et de l'habitation la résolution du Conseil d'arrondissement ainsi que la documentation justificative produite conformément à la politique de prolongation des délais en vertu de la loi sur l'aménagement et de l'urbanisme.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Pour 4014, que soit approuvé le PIA pour l'agrandissement d'un bâtiment commercial au 13 057 boulevard Gouin-Ouest sur le lot 1 370 349 du cadastre du Québec, conformément au règlement sur le plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale numéro CA 290042. Je propose.
J'appuie.
4015, that the refused the SPAIP, the construction of a detached two-story single-family building located at 18,929 Boulevard Coin West by Lot 1,977,648 in accordance to the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program Bylaw CA 290042.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. 4016, que le procès-verbal de la réunion du Comité de circulation et de sécurité routière tenue le 5 juin 2025 soit approuvé tel que soumis, que l'annexe A du règlement 868 concernant la circulation de la sécurité publique sur le territoire de l'ancienne ville de Pierrefonds et le règlement régissant le stationnement sur les voies publiques de l'ancienne ville de Roxboro soient modifiés comme suit. Numéro 1, demande de mettre un dos-down ou un arrêt sur la rue des Carrières. Retirer la panonceau indiquant les heures 7h à 9h en dessous de panneaux obligatoires et tourner à gauche à l'intersection des rues des Érables et Saint-Denis et de remplacer par un panonceau indiquant les heures 7h à 19h. Installé temporairement en dessous de celui-ci, panonceau, nouvelle signalisation, et qu'il soit retiré après une période de 30 à 60 jours. Retirer les panneaux non conformes, sauf pour véhicules autorisés, et les panneaux publicitaires RE/MAX, surveillance de quartier à l'intersection des rues des Érables et Saint-Denis. Installer 3 panonceaux, arrêt sur toutes les approches à une intersection sous chacun des panneaux arrêts de l'intersection des rues des Érables et Saint-Denis. Retirer le panneau arrêt et le marquage de la ligne d'arrêt non conforme à l'intersection des rues des Carrières et des Érables. Prolonger la ligne axiale dans la courbe de 25 mètres à part d'autre, en plus d'y ajouter une balise de limite de vitesse 25 km à l'heure pour la direction sud, à l'extrémité nord de la nouvelle ligne axiale proposée à environ 25 mètres de la courbe. Installé à l'extrémité nord de la nouvelle ligne axiale proposée à environ 25 mètres de la courbe, un panneau virage à gauche est installé sous ce panneau de danger, un panneau vitesse recommandée près d'un point dangereux 25 km à l'heure. Retirer le panneau chemin sans issue placé sur le poteau de bois dans la courbe des rues des Érables et des Carrières entrée privée et de le remplacer par le panneau flèche directionnelle vers la gauche. Le numéro 2 demande de mettre un passage piéton sur le boulevard Gouin et la rue Allard. Installer des panneaux de passage pour piétons ainsi que des bandes de passage pour piétons de couleur jaune d'une part et de l'autre de la chaussée du côté ouest de l'intersection. Aménager sur le trottoir une descente pour personnes à mobilité réduite avec plaque padotaxile, if that's right, d'une part et de l'autre de la chaussée de manière et assurer une accessibilité universelle pour tous. Le numéro 3 demande de revoir le stationnement sur les rues Alexander et de la station, retirer les panneaux interdisant l'arrêt sur la rue Alexander entre les rues de la station et Anthony des deux côtés de la rue. Relocaliser le panneau débarcadère 15 minutes destiné aux parents qui déposent leurs enfants situés sur la rue Alexander du côté de la garderie impair et qu'une plage horaire soit ajoutée de la manière suivante, 7h à 17h du lundi au vendredi. Ajouter un panneau stationnement interdit de tout temps sur la rue Alexander entre les rues Anthony et Basswood du côté pair. Ajouter des panneaux interdisant du stationnement en tout temps sur la rue de la station du côté de la garderie et installer le côté nord de la rue Alexander entre les rues Logan et de la station des panneaux pour délimiter 2 espaces de stationnement réservés aux véhicules électriques en recharge de 6 mètres chaque. Le numéro 4 demande de clarifier les mouvements à l'intersection du 16e rue et de la 9e avenue, fermer l'embranchement nord de la 16e rue de manière temporaire et relocaliser l'arrêt sur la 9e avenue vis-à-vis à l'embranchement sud afin de mieux canaliser la circulation et pour ce faire, des barrières ce type jersey ou de manière plus esthétique, des bacs de fleurs pourraient être utilisés pour bloquer l'accès. Un marquage de sol sera également réalisé pour aligner correctement les véhicules de l'intersection appropriée. Le numéro 5 demande de mettre un sens unique et d'ajouter un down sur la rue Dresden. Installer 2 ralentisseurs de vitesse avec dimension marquage de signalisation. Le premier entre les adresses CV 4983 et 4979 et le second entre les adresses CV 4967 et 4963 de la rue Dresden. Le numéro 6 demande de sécuriser le sens unique de mobilité, de modifier le stationnement sur la 3e avenue et 4e avenue sud, ajouter des panneaux sens interdit à l'intersection de 3e avenue sud et 2e rue, modifier les limites de la restriction de stationnement sur la rue en question, et cette modification ne prévoit pas de modifier la signalisation mise en place pour l'école, mais permettra de simplifier et d'uniformiser le stationnement sur les 2 tronçons. Stationnement interdit, 3e avenue sud, côté nord, entre le numéro Civic 37 et l'intersection de la rue Centre commercial. 4e avenue sud, côté nord, entre le numéro 53, intersection de la rue Centre commercial. Interdiction d'arrêt. 3e avenue sud, côté nord, entre le numéro Civic 37 et l'intersection de 2e rue. 4e avenue sud, côté sud, entre le numéro Civic 58 et l'intersection de la 2e rue. Et finalement, débarcadère de 15 minutes, 3e avenue sud, côté sud, entre les numéros civiques 51 et 54, et 4e avenue sud, côté nord, entre le numéro civique 53, intersection de la 2e rue. Débarcadère autobus, 3e avenue sud, côté sud, entre les numéros civiques 40 et 51. Et stationnement finalement permis en tout temps, 3e avenue sud, côté sud, entre le numéro civique 40 et intersection de la rue du Centre commercial. 3e avenue sud, côté sud, entre le numéro civique 54 et l'intersection de 2e rue. Et 4e avenue sud, côté sud, entre le numéro civique 56 et l'intersection de la rue du Centre commercial. C'est le 46.
Si vous me permettez, Monsieur le maire, je félicite le comité de circulation pour le travail extraordinaire et je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Pour ajouter à ça, Mme Leroux, le tout était en collaboration avec les dirigeants de l'école Lalande.
5001, Monsieur le maire, pour la nomination, that Mr. Timothy Destunis be appointed as member of the Urban Planning Advisory Committee of the Borough of Pierrefonds-Roxboro for a one-year term from June 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2026. I propose.
J'appuie.
Little side note, Mr. Destunis was one of my student staff in Roxboro managing our parks 30 years ago. And now he's on one of our committees. How wonderful is that? Not that I had anything to do with it. 6001, que le Conseil d'arrondissement prenne acte du dépôt du procès-verbaux des réunions du comité consultatif d'urbanisme tenu le 4 juin et le 9 juillet 2025.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Et ça nous amène à la fin, le 7001, que la présente séance ordinaire soit levée.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci beaucoup à tous et à toutes présentes dans la salle et les gens qui nous regardent via la web diffusion. Merci beaucoup et on se voit au mois de septembre. Bonne soirée à tous.